Hey everyone, and welcome to Eagle Eye with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Down here at the Senior Bowl, soggy, very, very soggy. It has rained now for like 36 hours, and yesterday's practice was all in the rain.
And we have breaking news. Dave is moving to Mobile. He'll be covering the Eagles from Mobile.
Yeah.
He's relocating, and so congratulations on the big move.
Yeah, I don't mind Mobile. Ready to go home. Yesterday was brutal. I'm actually thankful in a way that they didn't move practice under. They have like an overhang, but if they move it in there, then we can't watch, which is what's happening on Thursday. So I'm thankful that they kept it outside, but we were standing out there for 5 hours in the rain. And this is a classic move by me. Brought an umbrella with me all the way from Philly to Mobile. Guess where it was? In my hotel room.
Yeah.
In my hotel room, not with me on the fields. But I had a raincoat, and once you're 100% saturated, you're like, all right, I might as well just stand out here.
You can't get more saturated than 100%.
That is true. That's how percentages work. But I did give it 110% on my practice observations, and we'll go through some of them. It was a little tough day to evaluate some positions because of the rain. I mean, it was coming down, and at least early on, we were watching it early on, just receiver and quarterback drills, drop. But it got a little better, and it ended up being a useful practice, or useful two practices. So I'll kind of just go through some of my notes, and we'll talk about some of the players and the positions they play. For me, the big winner on day two is Perrion Winfrey from Oklahoma. He's a defensive tackle. On day one, it was Jermaine Johnson, which worked out really well for me because I mocked him to the Eagles, and then he goes out and plays really well. But Winfrey was just a wrecking ball on Wednesday, and he's really had a good week. He's helped himself out quite a bit. I don't know if he'll be a first-round pick, but no, he'll be an early-round pick for sure. And defensive tackle down here is a stacked position. It's a few of the guys, and it starts with Winfrey, but Neil Farrell from LSU has played really well. Ohio State's Haskell Garrett, Devontae Wyatt from Georgia, and Travis Jones from UConn at least really stood out in the one-on-ones, which is a good start for a defensive tackle. And it got me thinking about the Eagles' defensive tackle position because it's not a pressing need. They're going to have Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Milton Williams this year, but it's a sneaky need, especially given how much stock they put into that position.
Yeah, and Fletcher's not a kid, and his play has gone downhill gradually in the last couple of years, which there's no shame in that. It happens to guys in their 30s. And Hargrave, he's not a kid either. He's not an older player, but I think there's definitely a case to be made. And I think Milton. I don't know what Milton's ceiling is. I really like his game. I do think he's going to be kind of a combo inside-outside guy. But I could definitely see Howie addressing interior line at some point, day two. If not day one. It wouldn't shock me if it was day one. I do think there'll be talent dropping down into the second and third rounds because there's just so many good defensive tackles. But I feel like it is a need. I mean, I think this is going to be Fletcher's last year with the Eagles, I would think. The contract might make it tough, might keep him here another 2 years. I think it's certainly an area of, if not need, of interest.
Yeah, and Hargrave is entering a contract year. You'd think the Eagles would want to re-up him before he hits it or during that contract year, but maybe he's looking at it and thinking, no, I want to hit the market now that I've really established myself as a higher level player. That wouldn't surprise me. So, yeah, and I like Milton Williams. I'm bullish on him, but I still don't know exactly what he's going to be. So, yeah, I think it makes some sense for them to look at that position. And there were some good ones showing their stuff on Wednesday. Let's talk about the quarterbacks because I thought day one, Kenny Pickett was the best of the bunch. And some people disagree. Opinions differ. I just thought he was the most consistent, whereas Malik Willis, like, looked like maybe the most talented, but he made some awful throws too. Day two was a little different. I was impressed by Malik Willis, and that says something that he did it in the rain. Um, have his best day in the rain, and I get why he's talked about as a first round pick. You could see it a little bit on day one, but day two, he was really impressive.
I'll bet a lot of the scouts and coaches down there don't really mind the conditions because, if you're in the NFL, if you're a quarterback, you're going to have to play in rain and cold and wind and whatever. I mean, it's, you don't get a lot of days that are, sunny and no wind and 71 degrees. So, I think that's a situation, whether you're a receiver or a quarterback, how does this guy manage the conditions? How does he adjust? How does he deal with it? And it sounds like Malik Willis is one guy who really did that. He's an interesting guy. I still think he's going to be the first quarterback taken. I think his ceiling is higher than Pickett's, but I think Pickett maybe is a safer pick. But I think somebody's going to take Willis pretty high. I think he's a really interesting guy.
It could happen. I mean, he talent wise, he has it all. He made some throws on Wednesday that were just awful, though. I don't know what to make of it. Maybe a little nerves, or it's just, it's tough too because they're figuring out this offense. Like they just learned these plays. Now you're on a practice field running them with players you've never played before. So you have to remember all that. It's in a way, it's easier for a receiver to come out here and impress everyone because here's the route tree. This is the route you run on this play, and that's it. You catch the ball. Whereas a quarterback, you're learning that it's a watered down offense, but you have to learn a lot, and you're cramming it into. I mean, these guys got here Monday or Sunday, so they're just here and they're basically thrown on the practice field. But I was impressed by Willis. Pickett, for what it's worth, the ball wasn't like falling out of his hand. People worried about that weird disjointed thumb and what it would mean for his hand measurements, but I mean, he didn't have any issues with that. That's a good sign, I think. The hand size is my favorite part of the pre-draft process because it's so silly at times, but it matters to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow had small hands. He's doing all right. I mean,
yeah, remember that was a big thing with Burrow coming out a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And I actually talked to someone from Pickett's camp about that weird disjointed thumb, and they said it helps him grip the football better because it's like around the side of it more. They're like trying to show me, but they have a normal thumb, so they can't pull it out to show me.
Right.
But I'm not too worried about that. The other quarterbacks, I thought Ritter was a little bit better on day two than day one. He has some skills. I think he's probably behind a few of these guys. Carson Strong has a big arm, but it's like a big arm don't know where it's going sometimes. It's I like the thing I like about Carson Strong is he'll just unload deep balls. He's fun to watch at practice, but there's sometimes where I don't know if that was the throw to make, and you're watching it soar like 60 yards through the air. But the quarterbacks are always a talk down here, and these guys. And I should mention Sam Howell. He had a sneaky good day on day two. No one talked about him, but he was hitting like 15-yard slants, boom, 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 boom in the rain, which is impressive. These guys are going to be first-round picks. Maybe not Ritter. Maybe he falls out, but the rest of them probably maybe Strong, not neither. But there's going to be first-round picks here.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, it always starts out like in bad quarterback years or not great quarterback years. Yeah, there's not going to be any quarterbacks in the top 10. But then there are people draft quarterbacks. I don't know if there's a slam dunk prospect in the bunch.
No, there's no slam dunk. I think Pickett is, if you're looking to check boxes like across the Pickett checks them. Don't know what the ceiling is. The other ones all have like at least one big flaw in their game. But coaches, they see a skill set and think I'll be the guy to fix it.
Yeah, and if you're right, it's worth the risk. I mean, I think back to 99 with those 5 guys, and everyone thought they were all can't miss guys, and 3 of them won like single digit games in their career. I mean, Kelly Smith and Couch and Cade McNown and Culpepper and Donovan were the only decent picks out of the 5. So there was no consensus about any of them. So, although Jeff Lurie did say at Donovan's number retirement press conference that the Eagles would have taken Culpepper if they took a quarterback and it wasn't Donovan, which is
he should have said we would have taken Achilles Smith or like made himself look better.
I don't think he would have looked better if he said we were going to take Achilles Smith.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, it's really interesting to me just because we're going to spend so much time picking apart what these guys can't do, and then they're all going to be like top 20 pick, top 15 picks, so or at least three or four of them. So it's funny how that goes. People want quarterbacks, and I think that kind of plays into the Eagles' thinking too. When your quarterback's Jalen Hurts, you're not going to draft a quarterback in the first round. That's a project, or that's not a slam dunk. Yeah, because you already have one of those. If I think if there was that guy in this draft, then I think their whole thinking about the quarterback position might be different.
Yeah, maybe, and that's not to say that if I think the fear from a lot of fans was that they'd sit in fear, or maybe they were looking at it as a positive thing, but they'd come down here and watch Malik Willis and go, "Oh, this could change our thinking." I don't think that's going to happen, but you never say never, if they look at one of these guys and think, well, he just has better skills than the guy we have, it's possible. But I think those skills would need to be like head and shoulders above what they have to change direction.
And then you have to think about like where the Eagles are as a team. Like if you feel like in 2 years you can really compete for something, and then you look at the quarterback class in 2023, and you look at what you can do with these 3 picks as far as building up your roster and running it back with Jalen, it just makes so much sense. And if it doesn't work, now you have those players that you drafted this year, even if it's just 2 and you trade back, whatever it is, you've upgraded the roster. Jalen's got another year of experience, and there are better quarterbacks, we think, in the 2023 draft that will have the players that you've drafted this year. So if
they have to be careful about those evaluating future quarterback classes. I remember when they traded up in 2016, they did it because they thought the next few years were going to be dry, and the next few years produced the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, some really talented guys. So it's tough to project, especially that position. We're talking about Spencer Rattler last year as being the first overall pick, and he disappeared. So, yeah, you never know.
Yeah, and now people are speculating that he's going to be a first-round pick next year after he, reinvents himself. Where did he transfer to? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Vanderbilt or something. No, but
all right, let's move on here.
Let's move on.
Daniel Fa'alele. 6'8", 387 pounds. Everyone wanted to watch him down here. He has he has the body, he has the athleticism, far from a finished product. He got run over by a 240-pound linebacker on Wednesday. It was one of those moments of practice, and I've been a little disappointed by him. He was just for the sheer size of him, everyone wanted to watch him, but he needs work. He needs a lot of work, and they're going to have to. Someone's going to draft him because of of the size and the athleticism, especially if he moves well at the combine. But different project. Yeah. When you look at the Eagles, you think interior line is pressing. Would you call it pressing need? It all hinges, I guess, on Kelsey, but should it?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a pressing need just because we're assuming Sayamalo comes back healthy, and we're assuming he can play right guard if Kelsey's back. And if you have Dickerson, Kelsey, and Sayamalo with Mulata and Lane Johnson, it's a it's a pretty stacked offensive line. I think a lot of the evaluation of the interior line had, I mean, I don't know if they know what Kelsey's going to do. I don't know if Kelsey knows what Kelsey's going to do. I know he will tell them before the draft. I mean, they'll know way before that.
Yeah.
He'll give them that courtesy. I would think it'll be sooner than that. But I think a lot of it has to do with your value. What do you think of Jack Driscoll? Like, is he a big V type guy who can back up every spot and be a really good backup at four O-line spots? I think he could play left tackle. Or do you really think he's a starter? I mean, do you think he's a starter level, like a good starter level guy?
And how do the injuries factor into your evaluation of him?
Yeah, 2 years in a row now he's had a series of injuries, really, just one after the other. The Dickerson pick, man, I think that changes a lot of things. Do you know the Eagles haven't drafted a Pro Bowl offensive lineman in the second round since the 1950s? I was looking for like the last, they haven't, like most of their good offensive linemen have been late round guys, or free agents in some cases, Brooks and JP, or trade, older guy. But yeah, I think they like taking linemen in the later rounds. I mean, you look at their line, obviously Lane was the fourth pick, but I mean, Kelsey was a 6, Mulata was a 7, Dickerson was a 2, Driscoll was a 4, Sam Malo was a 3, Herbig is undrafted. I think if you have Stoutland, you can find offensive linemen. So I don't, and then you look at who they've, obviously Lane was a great pick in 13, but I mean, the Fireman was the first round pick. Same year Kelsey was a 6th round pick. You look at their career. So I don't consider it pressing need. I think get some clarity when we know what Kelsey's doing. But, as long as Howie's a GM, they're going to take a lineman somewhere. I mean, they just will.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of where. They're going to take a couple, but I don't think they're going into this thing saying, because even if you don't have Kelsey, I mean, you could still line up Dickerson, Sam Malo, and Driscoll or Herbig or whoever your right guard is and be pretty solid. So
yeah, but I don't. In a way, though, I almost don't even know if Kelsey saying he's coming back for another year should change your strategy,
because he's going to retire soon. Either way.
Yeah. And like Linderbaum has been talked about a bunch, but even like a guy like Zion Johnson down here in Mobile, if you think you have an heir apparent, and Zion took some center reps, that's why I'm saying it. But if you think like Linderbaum, this is the guy, it shouldn't stop you from taking him this year because Kelsey's back. In fact, you can argue that having that guy sit for a year behind Kelsey, not a bad idea.
That's true. I happen to think that he's going to be gone by the time they start picking, and I'm not sure you want to start trading up for a center, but
you think he'll be gone that early? Centers don't get taken that early.
Yeah, I think he might be.
It just doesn't happen though. Like historically,
no, it doesn't. It never happens. But I think it might happen. I think he's that much better than most centers coming out. But maybe look, if he drifts down to where you pick, I would take him. I would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think he'll be there.
Oh,
I do.
That's interesting. I mean, I can't remember where I had him going. I think maybe the Giants in my mock. I know. Pardon me.
It's pretty high.
Yeah, it is
for center. Yeah,
but I think he's a generational center, as they say. So
yeah.
Now he's not down there? Is that right?
No, he's not.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Linebacker. I want to talk about linebacker because Devin Lloyd pulled out of the Senior Bowl. I was disappointed about that, but there have been some other good players here. Channing Tindall from Georgia, who wasn't even a starter at Georgia. That's how deep they were. I've been impressed by him this week. Chad Muma from Wyoming. There are options, and I think that's important to remember because we all get so focused on the first round, and especially this year with 3 first-round picks. Are they going to take Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean? Are they going to take one of these guys? They can get a really good linebacker in the second round, and they haven't used a second-round pick on a linebacker in a while either. It's not like
Hendricks, right?
Hendricks, and what was that?
12.
12, yeah. So it's been a long time since they've done that. They used a 3rd round pick for Davion Taylor a couple years ago, but that was a late 3rd round pick. I think that was 103. So it's almost into the 4th round. Using a where they are in the 2nd round versus where they drafted Davion Taylor, there's a big drop off in the level of talent from those picks. So I think that's an option. And
you have a guy who you think's going to be there middle of the 2nd round that you like?
There's a few, and Tyndall's one. People are going to be a little scared away by the fact that he wasn't a starter, but you look at that team that had Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker. Like, you're not going to.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? It's why Jermaine Johnson transferred out of Georgia. He's a 1st round pick, and he couldn't get the opportunity at Georgia, so he went to another school. There are going to be options there, and it's really fun to think about the 3 1st round picks. It gives you this incredible opportunity to just take the best player, because you're going to come back in the 2nd round and there's going to be another option there. So you can just get 3 positions out of the way and know that the 2nd round pick is going to be a decent option. Either way, it's going to be a decent option.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have 5 of the first 100. I forget the number, but we focus so much on the 1st round, but then they're going to have, they have 3 5s. So, they have a lot of picks on. They're not going to obviously have the same picks on draft weekend as they have now, because Howie will be Howie. But I like the idea. I haven't ruled out a 1st round linebacker, and I know the whole Jerry Robinson thing, 1979. But it's not like Howie made all those picks. It's not like Howie has said for 40 years, I'm not taking a linebacker in the 1st round. I'm not convinced they won't.
But he has basically said that since he's been here.
Yeah, but he's never had 3 1s before. And I think that
I agree with that.
It changes everything. And I would not be shocked if they do. I would not be shocked if they do.
Yeah, me neither. And those 2, maybe Christian Harris from Alabama could sneak into the conversation at some point. He's another one. If he's available in the 2nd round, be a really good pick. But I wouldn't be shocked either. Yeah. All right. I only have 2 more things. Yeah, good.
I was just going to say, seeing what Micah Parsons did, like as a, I wonder how much if they see that. And
if you see that in anyone, I guess you see it in Devin Lloyd, just because he's a physical freak.
Right.
But I don't know if you can change your evaluation process on Micah Parsons, because he's such a unicorn.
That's probably true. That's probably true. But I haven't. I haven't taken a linebacker in. I haven't taken Lloyd in my mock, in my last mock. I didn't in my first one because I hadn't taken a quarterback, but I went off that for the 2nd one. But it wouldn't shock me. I kind of like to see it. We're gonna have to call Jerry Robinson at some point. I think that's going to be your story.
I think every time Jerry Robinson's phone rings and he sees a Philly area code, he goes, "Oh, I got to talk about this again."
And Mike Mamula was telling me, like, around the combine, he gets like 5 or 6 calls every year. People who want to talk to him about that.
Does he talk to him?
No.
Next one, I only have 2 more things I want to get to. Tight end. It's a really good crop down here. They've been fun to watch. Trey McBride from Colorado State, I think, is the best one down here. He's going to be a high round pick. But another guy who's really impressed me, I didn't know a ton about, Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State. He kind of reminds me of Dallas Goedert a little bit, in that in college he just didn't catch the ball very much. He only had 26 catches last year, but he has the ability.
Look at their wide receivers. Like, why would you ever throw the tight end?
Exactly. I know, it's a good point. But he's shown he looks really smooth. He looks like he caught 50 balls last year, and that's the fun thing about this process is you can't draft on what they've done. You have to draft on what they're going to do. And he's a guy that he could do some good things in the next level. And tight end is a position we've talked about before. It's not the most pressing need. There's clearly needs they need. There's positions they need more, but adding a tight end to go with Dallas Goedert, not a bad idea.
I have a Dallas Goedert stat I unearthed last night. He caught 56 passes this year. 42 of them went for first downs. Is that interesting? 42 out of 56. Wow. I thought that was. And, Kelsey's the only guy who had a higher percentage out of all the tight ends who caught. I think I did like 30 or more passes. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I totally agree. We talked about Stoll, who's good blocker, but yeah. They definitely, it's funny. We talk about how many catches the Ohio State kid had. I'll never forget the first draft I ever covered. I might have told this one-eye story before, but the Eagles drafted Keith Jackson with I think it was the 8th pick out of Oklahoma. And he had caught 13 passes his last year there. And he'd only caught like 40, 45 his entire career. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? And of course, as a rookie, he set a record that still stands. He had 88 catches as a rookie. It's still the most by a rookie tight end. At the time, it was the most by any rookie. And now you have receivers catching 115 every year. But they never threw the ball to Oklahoma. I mean, they ran 50 times a game, and but when he did get the opportunity to catch the ball, he caught it. And you look at his traits and his size and his speed and strength, and it's like 8th pick in the draft, caught 13 passes as a senior. So, and that was such a lesson for me. I mean, that was my first year covering the draft, and I didn't know that you can, be a totally different player in the NFL than you were in college. I didn't know any of that stuff. There's no internet. We couldn't Google these guys, so they hadn't invented the internet yet. So
that's the thing now. It's like,
yeah,
we have so many ways to watch these guys that, and they have all so many outlets and so many ways for guys to show their skills, where you didn't really have that back then.
Yeah. And back then, if you went to the combine, I mean, they wouldn't let you anywhere near the building. I mean, they just, now it's become a media friendly thing, sort of. But yeah. So, I just like, well, they drafted a guy who caught 13 balls. What are they? Lost their minds? And ended up being a all pro as a rookie and a 3-time Pro Bowler. Yeah. So yeah, that was a good lesson for me. It was definitely eye opening.
My last one, Bo Melton had a really good day on Wednesday. Happy to see it because I'm writing about him pretty soon, and his day one was a little shaky, but he's Rutgers receiver, smaller, a little undersized, Cedar Creek product too, from Mays Landing area. Had a really good day too. He's real quick, good cutting ability, and we saw the ways they were using him. They gave him the ball in the end around once. There was another play where it was a quick pass in the flat, and that's how I think NFL teams are going to see him. His team did a good job of putting him in situations to kind of show what he can do. What was that smirk for?
I mean, he just described like what they were hoping Jalen Reagor would become, but
yeah, didn't work.
No,
all right, that's all my notes from that practice. It was a good one, even though it was downpouring.
When do I get to talk about Bo Melton's track career? He was in New Jersey.
Right after the podcast ends.
100-meter dash champ.